I'm Tim Ventura, and we're joined today by Andre Koenig, a published author, speaker, and expert on DeepTech with 25 years of Fortune 500 investing and startup experience. He's the CEO of Global Quantum Intelligence, the premier market and business intelligence provider in quantum tech, and chairman of OneQuantum, the leading quantum tech community globally with over 15,000 members. He studied quantum computing at MIT, holds an MBA in economics from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, as well as a master's in business from the ICN School of Management. Andre speaks English, German, French, and poor Italian, and has competed in national sailing championships and pursues Special Forces combat training. So, Andre, welcome. You are the CEO of GQI, as well as running community groups in the quantum area. So let me start out with the VC expertise, because again, as I mentioned before the call, one of the things that I'm so excited about is that you have both the business and the technical knowledge in this area. So can you tell me a little bit about what some of the advantages are of specializing in quantum investments rather than pursuing a more diversified portfolio?
The quantum expert in me would answer that I don't really think there is a benefit or advantage to specializing, especially in quantum. You'd have to be a little crazy. Einstein called it spooky, and he did so for a reason. As an economist, specialization, of course, in investing and finance, you're supposed to build portfolios, but there's a premium to be had when you specialize. And that was kind of my hypothesis. As I got interested in quantum technologies 5 or 6 years ago and decided to dedicate my professional and maybe even some of my personal life to it 5 years ago. It's really more than anything just super, super interesting. You get to work with the new Einsteins of the modern era. It's a global effort and really similar. People right now in the ecosystem are calling for a quantum Manhattan type project. So it's very high energy. And from an investment point of view, that gives you the opportunity to be, of course, a first mover. I think of it more in terms of old school risk capital than traditional venture capital. The first known private investment that we are aware of is the former founder and CEO of BlackBerry, who up in Canada outside Waterloo spent 300 million of his personal money saying, listen, guys, do with it what you want. Probably some university center, probably some company. Call me in 10, 15, 20 years. I don't really want to know. And that's probably paying off for him. He was a first mover with that. If you're a traditional VC, traditional angel, it's still very, very early days in quantum. Doesn't hurt to place a bet and get a seat at the table, but don't have too high expectations yet.
Well, that makes sense. It's exciting. And this is something, I mean, I'm sure you as well, but I've been excited about quantum computing for over 20 years now, right? And it's one of those things it's been out there, it's been growing, it's been maturing, and we've been seeing these, advancements over time. So specializing in that makes complete sense because it's something where, even if it's not there today, right? Looking forward in the future, it seems like it certainly will be. So
and if as an investor you're looking for this type of moonshot opportunity, we talk about $1 trillion markets. I don't know if there will ever be a $1 trillion market in AI or in blockchain or biotechnology. Quantum technologies, and of course I have to say that I'm a quantum enthusiast, is different. It has such a profound impact on the infrastructure of our economy, how we do business, how we do research and development, that many believe it is potentially this $1 trillion moonshot type of opportunity that also has many social potential impacts, climate change, and those types of things. And that is exciting to many investors as well.
Well, and so again, I'm starting out a little bit more on the funding side of things, and then I'll move into kind of the tech a little bit after that. What are funders looking for in quantum right now? And again, it is very early days in terms of this technology, but What are some of the technologies that they're currently focused on? And this comes out of what I've been seeing online. Do you think that we will see a quantum bubble? And do you think that we're already starting to see some of the indicators of that with companies that are just being invested in, I guess, across the board?
Bubbles are one of the most difficult things to predict in economics. So I'm not trying to go there. We do see mini bubbles. It's more a glass of champagne rather than a big bubble bath. There were a lot of big SPAC deals. There was, the average ticket size really has dramatically evolved over the last 2-3 years, where we saw big early stage rounds, maybe in the 10, 15, 20 millions. And all of a sudden last year, we saw big B, C, and D VC rounds with multi-$100 million tickets. So some of those bets, especially on the SPAC side, seem to not be panning out. Two companies in the space actually just got a warning that they might be delisted because they are under the 30-day minimum list price. And others have announced layoffs. So from that point of view, certainly a little bit of a bursting of some small bubbles. I don't think that's indicative of the wider ecosystem. Investors, if you look at the overall kind of deal landscape, that's really just about $2 billion in venture capital per year. I was at about $1.5 billion 3 years ago, 2 billion 2 years ago, 2.3, 2.4 last year. This year, we are on par with that. If you take the first 3 months of 2023, and most of that money increasingly is going to quantum computing, and specifically quantum computing hardware, which to me is surprising. We used to have more diversity, with more money also going to quantum computing software, and more importantly, going to other quantum applications such as sensing, communications, and quantum encryption. We're really seeing a little bit of a clustering of investors saying, I need hardware and it needs to be quantum computing hardware, and that's where I'm going to put my chips.
Well, and actually, let me touch on that aspect of things, because right now, I believe that IBM's Osprey is the largest quantum computer with 433 qubits. And that is a tremendous breakthrough. And from the photos I've seen, this thing is absolutely gorgeous too. I mean, this is not just a cluster of, wires and interconnects. This thing looks gorgeous. This is what a quantum computer should be like. So it's a wonderful step forward. But I've also heard that commercially viable quantum computers may still be a decade away. And so one of the things that occurred to me was, from an investment perspective, for people who were looking to put money into this and see this stuff grow and reach the market, does it complicate things to have those commercial viability so far out, I guess?
And the IBM superconducting chandelier-like gold bronze plated machine is really beautiful. It costs about 15 million, and that does include the hundreds of millions of R&D money IBM spent on it. So it could be a very nice sculpture, and I'm afraid that's how this specific machine might end up. IBM has a very, very exciting and credible roadmap on how to move beyond this type of single hardware that only houses a few hundred qubits. Again, if you look at the numbers, we did a survey of about 1,200 quantum computing users last year, and the tally was roughly 750 million USD in revenue, and over 80% of that is R&D partnerships. So not even yet, commercial in production at the enterprise level revenue. Any investor that is looking for that type of indicator that you're used to, you want to see a hockey stick curve, you're far away from finding that in quantum. So it's really, again, more on the risk capital side, and you have to understand the different architectures, the different business models, all of which are still emerging, and project that out a solid 10 years, if not more. And that's the responsibility and opportunity for every investor in this quantum game.
Well, now, in terms of these trends, I want to get into global quantum intelligence, and this is your project. From what I understand, you're not only providing authoritative analysis on today's tech, but you're also analyzing trends, right? Like this progression over the next decade until we reach commercial viability. So can you tell me a little bit more about the organization and what maybe some of the most exciting trends that you've been covering at the moment are in the quantum space?
GQI is the leading service provider in quantum. We started in 2015, merged 3 different companies into it last year, and we offer market and business intelligence to a lot of the big governments and government agencies, quantum being a national strategic priority for many, not just in the West, but also farther east. We work with a lot of investors. We're running a $150 million fundraise right now for a big quantum computing hardware play, and with a lot of the users. So that's a fascinating place to be at. I think the trends are still micro trends at this point, where you have to be an expert and try to figure out where you're placing these chips once you get a seat at the table, right? And that has to do with the science, that has to do with the technology, but it also has to do with the geopolitics of it, which is highly influential. In general, you see 2 different markets. You have the quantum computing market, which is this $1 trillion opportunity that I alluded to. We have many roadmaps out there, and it's kind of up to you to pick which roadmap you want to believe. There's no objectivity to it at this point. Then you have applications like quantum sensing, quantum encryption, quantum communications that are technologically much less complex, that also have a much smaller addressable market, but a much better identified potential target user. And that makes those opportunities more interesting. So when we're looking at these trends, it is really trying to pick the winners on the quantum computing hardware side, while at the same time understanding the business models in some of these smaller markets and adjacent fields of quantum technologies, all of which, by the way, we expect to merge in the next 10, 15 years into kind of an interconnected, fully entangled quantum system that will be able to offer all of these opportunities. And if you're able to pick companies that will be a part of this overall system, then I think you have a very good chance at a nice little return here.
Yeah, well, and it seems like this is definitely a time for people to take a more serious look at it. From my research, it shows the investments in quantum went from 93.5 million in 2015 to 3.2 billion in 2021, in addition to over 9 billion in investments by national quantum research programs. So it seems like there is definitely an uptick in interest and investment, and projects like yours, again, being able to develop subject matter expertise and help educate people to the best prospects, and potentially ones that they may want to avoid, I think is incredibly valuable. So
it is a huge barrier of entry for any investor. And we've worked with hundreds of investors, from angel over syndicates to VCs, and even a couple of private equity firms. And less than a handful have passed that barrier. Once you do, you have a huge differentiation, a huge leg up on this opportunity, and that's fascinating. You asked me about bubbles earlier. Many call it quantum winter. I'm not worried about it. There is, our numbers show a total of 55 billion of government funding globally in the last 20 years in quantum technologies. Many of these programs are funded for the next 3, 5, 10 years. Many of these over 19 countries now are talking about the next quantum bill that's in their respective houses and parliaments. So a quantum winter will only affect those that leaned their head out the commercial window a little too fast, too soon. Everybody else is well taken care of.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the tech that I guess you feel the best about, should we be focused on like Google and I believe IBM, right? And some of the big players in that space. I know that AWS, Amazon is getting involved as well. Should we be focused on some of these mainstays, or should we be looking at potential upsets from things like exotic qubits, right? And these are, I've seen systems that are using lasers. Microsoft is doing, I believe, what they call topological quantum computing. So these are a little bit different approaches. Do you think that we should be focused on the big established players, or looking more at potential upsets, I guess?
I grew up watching the Rocky movie, so I always root for the underdogs. Companies like IBM, Google, Microsoft, AWS. You have Alibaba overseas, Hitachi, Fujitsu. They do an excellent job at integrating this into their cloud offering, at building enterprise solutions, creating ecosystems from open source to GitHub and developers to feed into that. And that's going to be a huge market. As an investor, will that affect the Amazon stock price? That is hard to say, right? But definitely many years out. In terms of underdog, I think we will see surprises. This might be the ending of a Rocky movie, and I think he won in all but the last of them. There are some not only exciting technologies, and you called out these exotic qubits, which one of the bigger players can't really bet on. That would be not commercially smart for them, right? They need to bet on something that they can build and sell today. Smaller teams can do that, and there are some excellent teams out there that have the scientific wherewithal, the credentials, also the funding to build on that. And we think many will be surprised by the timelines and how far we get in these reduced timelines over the next 3 to 5 years out there. So definitely rooting for the underdogs, but you have to find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know our time is limited because you're on a very tight schedule today, and I want to thank you for that. I do have one question that I simply cannot miss, though, which is artificial intelligence. I read just last night that ChatGPT 5, which is, I guess, currently in development, it's due out in December, is being called the true AGI, artificial general intelligence system, which for me was mind-blowing, right? And I mean, anyone who has been following the headlines has seen just remarkable output from ChatGPT 3.5. 4 was just released. Now, these are not quantum systems, but what I'm starting to read are rumors that there may be integration, maybe there's synergy between quantum tech and these incredible breakthroughs in general, artificial general intelligence. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts on cross-pollination or influence, I guess, in that area?
There are a couple topics in quantum where I have to be careful not to get irritated. One of my many flaws, living in Miami, one of them is blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and many ask about that in the context of quantum, and I still haven't come up with a good answer. ChatGPT, and I use it a lot for drafting social media, summary of reports, I think is a fantastic tool. I had an AI company for 6 years, very excited about AGI. Not really sure how we're going to get there. I'll need to read up on ChatGPT 5. There is a lot of cross-pollination, as you call it. There is an overall field of QML, quantum machine learning. What is quantum good at, right? Quantum is good at optimization problems, at factorization problems, and at simulation problems. And a neural net, when you break it down, is an optimization problem mathematically. And that is a field that has been heavily researched, and we believe will take more than the current NISQ era, noisy intermediate scale quantum computers, hardware, to really see progress. So we'll put that at 5 to 10 years conservatively. There are other applications that we've seen out there with companies doing things like image recognition and text recognition through very smart clustering and other AI methodologies that have shown some real near-term potential. And as we in the scene say speed up over classical systems, the application and impact of that remains to be seen. I'm sure there's some cross-pollination between quantum and ChatGPT. I don't know what it is. I don't really care. Quantum and as great as ChatGPT is, and it will impact many in their workday, quantum is something more fundamental. We are at a stage of the human evolution, beginning with the fire, the wheel, electricity, industrialization. That is what quantum can do for us if we get it right, and if we get there. It is a new fundamental understanding of the universe, our laws of physics, and how we can actually build technology that enables everything that you see in Star Trek or Wakanda, or whatever movie you prefer, from personalized healthcare to your perfectly optimized, rebalanced financial portfolio, and new materials in between, right? That's what we're focused on. ChatGPT I'll continue to use for my social media. Quantum machine learning is something very exciting that will take many more years.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, Andre, let me thank you so much for your time today. It has truly been a pleasure and an honor to have you walk us through this. So let me close by asking, what comes next for you, and what do you see in the near term for quantum computing and this emerging quantum industry?
I'll contradict myself a little bit. 2023, and I expect this to go into 2024, we'll definitely see more bubbles rising. We expect consolidation, not just because a few of the 650 or so startups in the quantum space run out of runway. Their burn is simply too high, and they ramped up partnerships, hiring, tech investments too fast, and there's no coming back from that. We're also starting to see a lot more consolidation, the bigger players buying up specialized teams and stacks of the quantum hardware layers that they need, or adjacent technologies going into sensing, going into communications. So the next 12 to 18 months is really about a big shakeout, get to the next step on the famous Gartner maturity curve, past the slope of enlightenment, and through that nasty, sad, dry, hot valley that nobody wants to be in. And I think we'll come out of that in much, much stronger shape. And it's not that we're in poor shape, but we need to all work heads down, focus on improving our hardware, improving our software. We still need a lot of quantum algorithms that need to be invented, literally. We need to find the business models. Companies like GQI need to figure out how to properly advise all the different stakeholders in the ecosystem. This has never been done before. We need ethics, we need standards, we need new laws, and all of this kind of the grinding of it is going to happen over the next the 12 to 18 months, and that's exciting. And being part of that, you will see a lot of opportunities. So don't wait another day. Get into quantum today. It's a steep learning curve. It's not done by attending a couple conferences or watching YouTube videos. It's a choice. You have to get into it as a passion and as a career. If you do that, it's going to pay off if you're willing to allow for that necessary time window.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much for your time again today, sir.
It was a pleasure being with you, Tim.